Bioscopic Arena, and from today onwards, we'll be starting a new podcast series in Talks with. The main objective of starting this podcast series is to promote the indie filmmakers from around the world and to know about their interesting filmmaking journey. In short, Bioscopic Arena is trying their best to promote the beautiful indie films created by the talented filmmakers from around the world. Today, our first guest will be Zui Friedman, who is a filmmaker based on New York. He will be joining us in a discussion about his first feature, Aleos, and will be sharing some great tips about indie filmmaking. So let's begin. Welcome Zui to our new podcast series in Talks with. So you are our first guest.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
So let's start. Okay. Let's start with the first question. How are you?
A little tired, but I'm good. I'm good. Thank God. Very good. Nothing to complain about.
So let's get to business. Tell us something about your new film, your first feature, Aleos.
Um. What should I tell you about that? All I could say is that if you're gonna go out and if you're thinking about making a film or becoming a doctor, become a doctor. It's not easy. Let's put it that way. It was far more It's a very small movie. It's a low budget indie film, but it was still extremely, extremely difficult to do. Extremely difficult. So, it was tough. That. If I would say one thing about it, that's what I would say for now.
Okay. So what inspired you in making Aleos? Because I'm asking you because I have searched the meaning and it's related to Greek mythology. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
So can you just tell us something about it? I just don't want the spoilers, but still, you can tell us something.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, um, the inspiration's hard to say because I came up with it so long ago, and inspiration for me personally doesn't work like I see something happens to me on the street
Yeah.
and all of a sudden ting, like a lot of times it's a slow evolution. It could come from one idea to another, or it could also be from my obsession of certain movies. But the title that you brought up, which is based in Greek mythology, the reason why I did that and I do that in general with my films is because I like my films to have a biblical scope. Like I like films that have a certain, even if they're about mundane things, but there's a certain religiosity to them, a certain spirituality. So it's like a heightened, not even heightened reality, but I guess a parable. It has like a folktale element to it, even though it's happening in modern times. So in a way, I try to make all my movies a little bit like a modern fairy tale, where there's a certain, lofty, esoteric side to things. If that answers the question.
Okay, it's great. So you have some biblical references in every movie of yours. I have seen your Anastasis and Phenomenetica also. So I think it's great, being religious in some point in your film and showcasing that is something one of your element, one of your director's voice or vision, I would say. So yeah, it's great.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so let's get to the third question. It's your first feature film. So, how did you engulf that pressure or tackle that anxiety?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I wasn't so nervous to do it. Um, my whole life I've been sort of going towards this, I guess step in the ladder, and hopefully continue to make many more. But
Yeah.
so I just was dying to do it. I was just very hungry to do it. So I wasn't that, The anxiety only really came like every film, short films, the only easy thing about them is that they're shorter. So let's say you start getting into fights with your team.
Yeah.
That happens a lot of the times. Your actor starts to hate you, your crew member, but you don't have to deal with them for that long. With Elios, you're stuck with a group of people for
Yeah.
2 months and then some and even more. So that was really where things got a little tough. Sometimes people would get upset, and you have to see that you can't run away. You have to see them the next day. So the anxiety
Yeah.
kicked in actually after I started versus before. Before I was like a dreamer. I was gonna be Steven Spielberg when I'm done. And then once I started, I was like, oh man, what did I sign up for?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you really put up something about Steven Spielberg. So he is your favorite director, maybe?
No, I wouldn't say my favorite director, but he's the most famous director. So we all just use his name freely, but because everybody heard of him. But I wouldn't say he's my favorite director. Not at all. No.
Okay. Okay. So, what do you think? Zui. Sometimes many, everyone tries to filmmakers try to recreate some scenes from great movies. So, do you agree with that? Do you really sometimes want to recreate some scenes when you really like the movie, when you really like a particular scene? So, what's your on that?
Recreating scenes from other films, you're saying? Well, I would say that if you look at movie history, filmmakers have been doing that for quite some time, where you have even Christopher Nolan's famous hallway tunnel fight. There's a silent film of a guy walking down a hallway that's revolving, from the 20s. So there's a certain repeat. Now the question is whether it's always conscious or not, but I think it's best not to do that because we've been recycling too many ideas and too many genres and films, and it's better to try to venture out and do something original. You could be influenced by other people, but it's best to stay away from that, Try to make something new. That's what I think,
Yeah.
But of course, we all have that desire we all love certain filmmakers, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to do something like them. There's nothing wrong with copying them too. I mean, everybody has their own way, It's just me personally. I try my best to be original, but it's not easy because we're so. It's very difficult to unwire yourself from all the junk that you put into your brain, from all the thousands of films and TV that you've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree you on that, and I think I have read Plato little bit. So he was like art is only about copying for him. So he
Who? Who was this?
Plato.
Plato. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said something like that. I really forgot what he said, but it was something like that. For him, art was something different. He don't think that it was creative or something else. Let's forget it. So coming to
He copied me. He copied me. Yeah.
yeah. So let's get back to the next question. As you have written the script all by yourself for Eleos, and so how does it feel, in turning your written characters to lively characters?
Yeah, it's always very cool. It's very interesting to see a vague concept. I had a different film, Phantom Erotica, which you mentioned, which I remember I was with a bunch of friends actually. It was the summertime, and I told them the idea, and they all started laughing at me. And then one friend told me, "You're never gonna be able to do that. You're never gonna be able to make that." And I did. So the reason why I bring up that story is because since everybody was like, "Get out of here," because the concept sounds so outrageous, that that's when I realized how crazy it is in a way that an idea you could have in a pizza shop could end up being on a screen, and now it could even be playing in film festivals to audiences. So it is always very cool. It happens to be that with Elios in particular, since it was such a roller coaster ride making it, that there was a lot of moments of doubt, and it's also very difficult when your thing comes to fruition because you kind of start to see cracks in your writing, and it's sort of screaming at you in your face. It's not like a story. You actually see a living version of your story, and that could sometimes be very depressing too. So it's a challenge. It's
No,
a
so I just
double-edged
was saying
sword, I
that
guess.
I guess we'll start from here. That when you write something and it comes to life, it's good and bad because on the one hand, it's first of all, if you're working on a project for a long time, you don't really notice. It's not like wow, I wrote something now it's happening because it's very gradual the process. It's not like one night you write a movie, the next night you're making it. It's like one night you write a movie and then 3 years later you're making it. So it's not so surreal. The only thing about it is that it's your writing comes to life is that you see the crappy parts of your writing come to life, you know? So it's like screaming in your face. You see real life embodiments of your flaws. but it's always interesting. It's interesting when people doubt you and it happens. That's the best part. People say, "Ah, come on," and then it comes to life. So for that, it's nice. Otherwise, if you're doing this for a while already, it's just like it's part of the program. You know, it's not a shocker. You know.
So it's like you have accepted a challenge, right?
Yeah, that's what it's like.
It's like everyone is saying that it will not happen, it will not happen, and you proved it wrong by shooting that movie
Yeah, yeah, it's always very satisfying.
and bagging awards for Phenomenetica. Bagging awards for Phenomenetica, and I really want to congratulate you for all the awards you bagged for Phenomenetica. And I have watched that movie, so personally speaking, it's great. And your cameo in Phenomenetica, I felt like something like Hitchcock. It was like a trade of Hitchcock because Hitchcock did in many movies of in his movies like a little
Yeah.
sort of cameo, and I think that's brilliant. That's brilliantly done. So best of luck for Phenomenetica again.
Thank you, amen.
So okay, so let's get back to the next question. So what type of challenges did you face while filming Aleos?
Well, it depends from pre-production to post-production, but pre-production it was getting money. Who in the world wants to give a 21-year-old kid money, for some for some art film, how do you get investors? I mean, we had to deal with all these different things. So the first time I raised $1, I actually was at a friend's wedding. I won't say his name because he'll be very upset if he knew. But I was at a friend's wedding and I just decided to start asking people. And I just started asking all kinds of random people at the wedding that I didn't know. I said, hey, I'm making a movie. I'm a movie director. Give me money. And I got $100 here, $100 there. And that's how I scraped together $1,000 in like a week. And then with $1,000, I was able to launch a fundraiser on the internet, which I was like, hey, I raised $1,000 already. I need another, whatever, 5-6 grand. So that's basically how I managed to get the money together. And it wasn't easy, but it was easier actually than production itself. Which once we got to the actual on the ground production stuff like rehearsals and whatnot, I guess the real difficulty is just trying to keep everybody happy. You're dealing with a lot of different personalities. Some days you have 15 people on set, smaller than a corporate level production, but you could only imagine how much more difficult that is, and it's just dealing with all those kinds of things, and you just have to be really tough, and people want to go home, but you didn't get enough coverage, and you really just have to treat it like a job, and you have to show up even when you don't feel it anymore. Passion project sometimes could be like a hobby because you're attached to it because of passion, but you have to brainwash yourself that you're not just doing it for yourself and because it's fun. You're doing it because this is your job. This is gonna be your livelihood one day. So you just gotta do it. You just gotta show up. And there are times where I almost collapsed. I got sick because I was working too hard. I wasn't sleeping. So I even towards the end of the day, I just like was on the floor basically, like half dead. My head was killing. I had a stomach virus, but my team, they just followed the pre-production plan and they just did what we planned. And I was very miserable. I was like, oh God, this footage is gonna be terrible because I wasn't involved. And then when I saw the footage, it was great. So a lot of it's like running a company, it's like making a machine. So pre-production, just plan. If something like that happens where you're just not into it for whatever reason, your mood isn't good or you're not feeling well, your team will follow like clockwork, your strategy. So I don't know if that answered the question, but
Yeah, of course. I think team plays a greater role while filming a movie, and I think that's what you said. You may be down sometimes, you may be sometimes high in spirit, but the main thing is how you bind up, how you bond with your team. And I think that is the key to a successful movie, not in terms of not in terms of money and all, but in terms of a beautiful movie. So yeah, that's definitely answers the question. So to the next question, what can we as audience expect from Eleos?
Well, I didn't write the movie for anybody but myself. I'm a selfish type of filmmaker, which
Everyone.
often leads you to becoming,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, a lot of people, yeah. No, but I think, I don't know where it's gonna end up, honestly, because these days, there's a lot of different options. We're hoping to get onto some sort of curated streaming service,
Yeah.
like say Mubi or something like that, that caters to more like cerebral type movies. But even if not, it definitely will be on some sort of streaming service. And what to expect from it, I mean, again, it's very hard to put into words because I do try to be very original. So I think it will be very different from what people are used to in general. It's definitely not a mindless action movie,
Yeah.
It's a very philosophical film, but not philosophical that it's dry or boring. But I think awe. The one word I could say is there'll be a lot of awe, a lot of
Yeah.
wonder. It will make people really wonder about themselves, about the world, about life. About the nature of our emotions. How do our emotions work, and how do we control them?
Yeah.
And is there redemption from is there free will?
Yeah.
Things like that maybe have been examined many times before in books and movies, but I think we do it in a very spiritual way, like I said before about my other
Yeah.
movies. It almost has like a biblical feeling to it, this movie, even though it's happening in New York City. So
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely answers the question. Okay, so the next question, I think it's very important. I really want to ask this. Did you face any hardships, or how did you make your actors, comfortable while describing your vision and making them act onto it? I think it's a very difficult task, to describe your own vision to other.
Yeah, it's the hardest part of being a director. It's easy to tell your DP where to go, but it's hard to tell an abstract feeling to your actors. I mean, to be honest, I haven't fully. My actors might watch this, so they might be angry if I say I was good and I told them how to do it, So I have to also make sure to say I don't know if I was good. But one thing that I learned from Francis Ford Coppola is that he would, when he would work with Marlon Brando, he would never tell him how to do it, because a lot of actors don't want you to tell them how to do it, and it's understandable because they studied, they trained, they know better than you in a way the process of acting. But
Yeah.
you try to facilitate, you make a safe environment for them to be comfortable to do what they want to do. Now, there definitely were times we couldn't do this because we were on such a tight budget that literally we couldn't not, you sort of have to pick and choose. Some scenes you let the actors do their thing. Some scenes you're like, sorry. And they get upset at you, but what are you going to do? They'll live with it. But with one thing that I did with one of the actors is I planted props around him that he could sort of touch or move or things like that. So this way, there's something. So that's what they did with in the beginning of The Godfather. There's a kitten on Marlon Brando's lap. That was added in. That wasn't in the script.
Yeah. He improvised it. It was improvised. Yeah.
Right. So there's some scenes where you let your actors improvise completely, but sometimes you don't have the time for that. So you give them things so they could subtly improvise. They could do little subtle things, such as in Marlon Brando on the Waterfront. He takes off the glove. There's just these little things that you plant them there a little bit so they could do it. We put boxes in one scene so a character could kick it, and it wasn't in the script originally. So you try to do things like that, and then also you just, for me, it's I first of all make them watch movies. I made my whole entire cast watch 10 movies that or was it, I don't remember if it was 10, maybe it was 5, but made them watch a whole bunch of movies that were related to the film. And then I also sent basically lectures to them explaining the philosophies, and also I write backstories for all my characters. There's a lot of other things I do too. Music. I mean, there's a lot of different things, and some actors don't want it. Some actors they just want to do their thing. Some actors don't come from the pseudo method acting, philosophy. Some of them are just old school. They're like, you want me to be sad? I'll be sad. You want me to be like, just tell me, But that's the best thing. Be blunt also. Just be blunt. Don't try to become a new age philosopher when you're trying to tell your actors what to do. If you want, you don't have to be embarrassed to tell your actors straight to their face exactly what you want. Being a director means being direct, And but it's not easy. It's not easy. I can't say I mastered it.
So you have done quite a lot of homework before, going into the feature film. Like you said, you referred some movies to gave them some movies to watch and all. I think that's a great. I think that's one of the great part. I think you have to do those things, to really make the characters. Maybe they are professionals, but you have to provide them those things, and I think you have done a great job.
Yeah, you do.
So, to the next question, what are your plans on LAOS? I don't want everything about it, but a little, like the distribution thing, whether you will commercially distribute it or, submitting to film.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult because the film festival landscape has changed drastically. The top tier film festivals seem to only really now cater to big budget or I wouldn't say big budget, but what's considered low budget isn't what was considered low budget in the 1990s. 1990s, you can make a movie for $7,000 and Columbia Pictures could be knocking at your door. Nowadays, that doesn't seem to be happening at all. You never hear stories about that. Now it's $100,000 movies that are considered the El Mariachis of nowadays. So there's a more of a taste. I think, also because we're spoiled as moviegoers, people are used to the streaming services, to Netflix, to big budget,
Yeah.
very polished stuff. So it's hard to know what the future is in terms of if the festivals are even worth it anymore. So I mean, we're probably gonna do the festival thing for some time. It really depends on how my short film currently does in the festivals. I'm sort of learning how the festivals work right now. I think we sort of managed to whittle our way into a slightly higher end film festival. Surprisingly, I was shocked because people don't realize how I made this movie. I mean, we had nothing when we made Phantom, so it's just interesting. So I'm figuring it out. So it really depends on my experience with the short film, but I definitely want to try some sort of streaming. Nowadays, the one brilliant thing about streaming is you have things like Tubi or Amazon, which are essentially, Amazon especially is an open retail streaming service where anybody could put a movie on there. Now, you can make nothing, but I know there are people, I've studied it very carefully. There's some great indie filmmakers who, they make garbage movies. I mean, no offense, hopefully they're not watching this, but they make very trashy, unintelligent movies. But these people are making $20,000 to $30,000 a month off the movies they have on Amazon. So self-distribution definitely exists. It's just a question of, it's a small market basically. And I think that if Hollywood doesn't let you in, so to speak, if the higher end market doesn't let you in, the curated market, then perhaps we'll go that route, the self-distribution. And I think our movie definitely in that realm outdoes all the movies there in terms of what's considered Hollywood-esque quality. But honestly, I'm aiming for the stars. I don't want to limit myself. What I'm really hoping is that it's really just to show the vision, the proof of concept for all the talents that were involved, and just show the powers that be, the bigger investors. It doesn't even have to be Steven Spielberg. It could just be the banker in Wall Street. Because that's how it works. We managed to get people with pockets that had $1,000 in them. Hopefully with my next movie, I'll have people with $30,000 pockets who can help fund, my next movie, that will have a $50,000 to $100,000 budget. And that's how it goes. You just climb. Yeah.
Yeah. So you really said something about OTT. Yeah, the OTT platform is growing, and I think it's a great choice. You have to do this kind of things. You have to adapt. In filmmaking, I think in the cinematic world, in this world, I think you have to adapt because now the OTT services are now growing. It's growing bigger and bigger. So you have to put your things there because majority of people they just watch only things that is available on OTT platforms. So if you share your vision there, I think you will get a great appreciation, and I trust you. I know about you, so it's great.
Well, I think essentially, if you study what the movie industry has always done, what do? They make trailers, they make ads on city buses, they advertise, and that's why people go to see the movie because the marketing is trafficking all these people into the movie. So the same thing on the internet landscape. If you invest a couple dollars into advertising, and all you really need, if you have a social media following and you grow it and you have a few thousand followers, you're trafficking all those followers to rent your movie on Amazon, and you could really make money. It's not a secret recipe, you know, and there are people who do it. There is this sort of like middle class film industry that exists, you know, of people who don't quite get into the kingdom of heaven, but they manage to self-distribute and, you know, get a real ROI. So, you know, I'm a big believer in breaking away. I think it's a big problem that everybody relies on the Wizard of Oz to tap you with his scepter, you know, and we really have to try to be independent. But also, that one thing that people don't understand, that we live in we live in a capitalist society, and movies have to make money in order to continue. And if you do make money, you could really, the sky's the limit. You could really start to build up a studio, and so it's finding that audience, it's building up that thing, and getting some sort of profit, you know, so you could then go and take that money and make the next movie and build up a studio, just like Hollywood began. That's how Hollywood started.
Yeah, you're really right. Whether it's indie film or a commercial film, whether it's marketing or something else, but you have to earn. Otherwise, I think that's growing, stepping the ladder. You have to. You are making a great film. Then again, you have to climb to make a great movie. So the money, as you said about the capitalist society, we live in that capitalistic world. So we have to think about money, because that is the main source. Because the spirit, it really it's like, it really maintains the spirit. It will help you balance the spirit of making a movie. And when you get appreciated by people, I think you are complete. So yeah. So to the next question, the last question, and it's very important. I really, to be honest, I also want to learn something from that. I really want to learn something from that. So the last question, you have done some crowdfunding for LAOS. So what's your message to the indie filmmakers regarding how should one approach for producers and funds, in a professional manner?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things about crowdfunding that I learned and that I think I understand now. I did it on a very small level. We raised about over $8,000 via crowdfunding, which isn't a lot, but it is a lot. It's a lot because majority of people do a crowdfunder and they make nothing. And I did that. I had a crowdfunder. I did one 2 years ago, $0. Very depressed. I was like, oh God, this is a scam, But magically, it worked, and it worked by mistake because I didn't realize I was doing something without realizing what I was doing. Now, what I really was doing is people think you need, thousands of followers, you need a massive fan base in order to raise money, and you do maybe to raise, $1 million. But it's really just the same. It's all the same thing, just on smaller levels. So if you even have a YouTube channel with 20 followers, let's say, but you're actually, but they love your content. There's a difference between having, a lot of people have YouTube channels, but they're meaningless. But I had a YouTube channel. I released 2 short films, Life of a Doll and Love at First Sight, and a few trailers. And for whatever reason, people actually responded to it. We're talking about maybe all the people are going to watch this, right? So 30 people basically watched these films, and they felt connected to it. Either they're filmmakers or they're just good people who just, for whatever reason, are interested in out of the box content. And those people came forward when I made the crowdfunder, to my surprise. And what it means is you have to put out some work before. Make a few short films, even one short film. Make one short film, but work hard. Don't just make a short film. Work hard on it, You can't, if you just slap something together, then you're no different than any other filmmaker. Try to have a different angle so people see you have some kind of singular vision going on. People want to invest in a vision. People want to invest in your vision, I think. If they see like, oh, he has a philosophy, he has something to say, people want to invest in what you have to say more than whether the movie's going to be garbage or not. Because a lot of times it's because they don't necessarily care about the movie now that you're making. They care about the movies you're going to make. So they're investing also in your future. So it's a very weird thing, but it's a reality. So make a YouTube channel, Facebook, let's say. Try to find like-minded people on Facebook, because those like-minded people will invest in you. So I have Stanley Kubrick fan. I'm a Stanley Kubrick fan. I'm a student of Kubrick, and I'm friends with people who are students of Kubrick. Guess what? The students of Kubrick gave me hundreds of dollars. You know what I'm saying? So and so you just have to find. So if you want to make an action Terminator movie, join a James Cameron Terminator group on Facebook. Friend people in the Terminator group, and just cultivate relationships on the internet. And those people will be the ones, I guarantee you, they'll be the ones to give money. It's like magic. I remember telling when it started to happen, I told my friend when we started the next one, I'm like, I'm telling you, this and this person's going to give money. And those people that I said their names gave the money. And you're not fooling anybody. It's not deception. It's just that people have a shared love. A lot of these people want to be somehow involved in film. They love film. The people out there who want to make sure that great films are made. So just find those people who agree with you what a great film is. You know, I really think that's what it is. So it's just building. It's called social capital. It's called building up in before the internet, when the real world existed, before the Matrix. It was the same thing. You would just become friends with people. You'd go to a film club, and those people would give you a few $1,000s. You know, that's how the Coen brothers funded Blood Simple. It's really the same principles that have always existed. And it's the same thing with even a Christopher Nolan movie, even the big budget movies. I think essentially it's the same thing, because movies are very hard to predict. The data is very bad on, especially indie film. But in general, movies are I think only 40% of Hollywood movies break even or something. So we're talking about the risk is tremendous. So a lot of it is really social capital. It's people investing in you more than the movie. Your name is Christopher Nolan, we're going to invest in you. You know, I think it's a very emotionally driven, gutsy driven business. It's intuitive. It's not intellect. It's not mathematical. I don't know.
So yeah, it's like this the things you said. I think it quite motivated me, because you have to make a sort of portfolio before going to mainstream. I mean, making the first feature. Before that, you have to make some short films, whether it's YouTube or Vimeo or any other platform, as well as about the crowdfunding. It's the love of the people that you gained some dollars, some hundreds of dollars from them. I think that's love. I think that's the unity of film community. People from different countries just united by one thought, that is cinema. Just united by one thing, and that is only cinema. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah, there's definitely a big starvation for that. Yeah, I'm saying there are a lot of people out there who want to see more just unique, out there movies. And that doesn't mean there's also a lot of B movies out there. I think people are sick of that too. People are sick of indie films that are, just have nothing, that are empty inside, but they're also sick of the Hollywood explosions. So people really want, kind of like something like Badlands. They want something like Days of Heaven. They want something that is small but speaks to them, and there's definitely a hunger for these movies. It's an untapped market to a great extent, although A24, I think, has really figured that out, actually. Imagine the people who founded A24, imagine they said, we're going to make a streaming service that caters to art house films. And the guy's going to say, who's your audience? And the guy would say, 20-year-olds. They'd get laughed at a Wall Street meeting. But they proved it. They did it. So a lot of times also you're inventing a demand. Sometimes you're making a demand that people didn't know was there. That's what Star Wars was. At the time, what other movie existed like Star Wars? Nothing. Science fiction was a garbage genre. So sometimes it's just like you have to really trust yourself. And if you have a movie you want to make, you could sell it to people. You could really, if you really believe in it, really choose a movie. If you're going to do something like crowdfunding, first of all, don't do a movie that, I'll make money off. Don't think that way. Do a movie you believe in. You believe that the world needs, because that will drive you not to be embarrassed, to put yourself out there, to talk about it. Like, make videos of yourself talking about the movie, things like that. That worked for me too. Talk to the people on your social media platform so they get to know you a little bit, and be real, and don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy. Just be real with them. People appreciate honesty, be sincere, So, yeah.
I think we need to be real, because maybe it's cinema, maybe it's virtual, but that virtual medium is so strong that it unites us. It unites our soul. And that's what you said. We have to be real in a virtual medium. We have to share our vision. We have to express ourselves, and then only we can. No one self-proclaims that he's a filmmaker or something like that, but you really enjoy that satisfaction when you share your vision in that virtual medium, and I think it's great. So thank you, Zvi. Thank you for for sharing some great insights about cinema and about indie filmmaking. And I wish you great luck and success for your upcoming feature film Eleos. And thank you for again inviting accepting my proposal for coming in our first podcast series.
No, I love it, man. I love what you do. I love what you guys do. I love your spirit. You have passion to it. I appreciate it. And I hope I can. I'm looking forward to seeing your films.
I'm also trying the same thing here. I just completed my the script for my fifth, sixth short film. I don't know. So I have completed the script and I want to film it. And now the same thing for funds. We are looking for funds here and there. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And yeah,
If you gotta rob a bank, you gotta rob a bank.
yeah. We have to. It's like I have to make a film and I have to do by any means, and that's what my motive is.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
So thank you for accepting my request,
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
and you are doing a great job. I think in this small age, I don't want to judge by your age, but I have to judge you. The thing is that you are doing a great job, and I have watched many of your movies, and I think it's great. So yeah, you are doing a great job. Just continue. Keep up the good work. I would say just that.
Amen. Be well. Take care, brother. We'll talk again. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay then. Goodbye.